Hey, how we doing today? I hope everyone's doing all right. It's staying warm. It's kind of cool outside today, but anyway, people wonder how I get detailed information about certain cold cases. Well, what I do is I hire myself out as a private civilian contractor to certain law enforcement and federal agencies, and I work on cold cases. This is how I'm able to come up with details that law enforcement don't come up with because they only got a certain time limit to work on cases, such as the Deidra Week case. There's a lot of information in there I can't put out there right now. But let me make one point clear that even though Brian Ellingworth admitted to hitting that little girl, the reason he never got arrested for it is because when that little girl was hit, it was classified as a hit and run, and there's a statute of limitations on a hit and run. Now, that too in itself is why was it classified as that, unless people knew that it was him. His people knew it was him. Statute of limitations was over in like 2001, 2002. So, of course, then after that, he can confess to it all he wants, and no one can get in trouble. However, it now falls under federal jurisdiction, which I am working as a civilian with some federal investigators to kind of investigate the case and see if we can bring federal charges up because it was an officer that did hit her. So it falls under actually federal jurisdiction and reclassify it as an accidental homicide. You can't really, or an accidental, reckless endangerment is basically what it would be because apparently he was drunk at the time. Brian Ellingworth, it's, but this is how I know detailed information. I was also asked to do an investigation as civilian investigation on the Roberts case, Eleanor Roberts. The people know as the John Sarver case. However, there is no proof, no evidence leading to John Sarver doing this, and I'm working with some federal investigators now to hopefully reopen that case and we can push forward to get him a new trial. But hopefully we can do it in a different state. That's going to take some doing because even though they will go by Wisconsin law in that state, it's too risky to do it in the same state, the same county, knowing that the county is crooked. I will be in a few weeks or maybe a month's time or something like that. I should be interviewing from prison a known serial killer in Wisconsin Rapids who was convicted a while ago, a long time ago, and he will be doing a phone interview with me while I'm live. Now, I don't know when that's going to happen or if it is even going to happen, but that is a case that I've been working on because they convicted the man with all evidence points to someone else and they convicted him, just like the John Sarver case. All evidence points to someone else, but they convicted John Sarver. And this is where they call me in because, see, me being a civilian, I can work on these cases 24/7 because I've got basically that's my one task. My one is what I get paid for. Well, let me just back this up. I used to hire myself out as that, not so much anymore, but I do once in a while. The Deidra Week case is pretty intense because we now know who killed. But under state law, you can't convict Brian Ellingworth because they put a statute of limitations on it. However, if the federal government or federal officers I am working with can get the case reclassified where it was a reckless endangerment or a which is drunk driving, you hit and kill someone, or if we can figure out whether it was intentional or not, then we can get it on homicide. Then we can reclassify the case, and there is no statute of limitations on that type of charges. This is why some of the locals there don't think I know what I'm talking about. You see, what they don't realize is I have more information on the case than they do. All they got is the police reports, and they go a lot by the police reports, and they tell me I don't know what I'm talking about because it's not in the police report, so it didn't happen. This is how ignorant a lot of your small town, people are. This is, I'm not saying these people are ignorant, I'm just saying that they read a police report and they think it's real. Now, there is another YouTuber working on a Deidra Week case, and I think he's doing an excellent, fine job. But he's got to understand that the police reports he was reading the other day, most of them are literally falsified. They were meant for the public to see and get the public believing what they wrote. I mean, the YouTuber I'm talking about, he's good at what he does. He's a beginner, and I think he's doing a fine job. He's a little rough around the edges, but he's doing a fine job. I think he's doing really good. He told me, well, put my evidence out there. Some evidence I can't put out there just yet because that's under federal jurisdiction, and until that part of the evidence clears, I really can't put what I know or how I know out there just yet. But when the time is right, I will make a video showing evidence when the investigation, the feds reopen this case. Now, they say it was an ongoing case, but it can't be ongoing having a statute of limitations on it. The feds can deem it as an open case. As an open case as far as the feds are concerned, it is an open case. The state of Wisconsin is no longer working on the Deidra Week case. I mean, the information that I found out on this case is pretty much all I know. The 5 witnesses that were in the woods, they came forward. Apparently, they gave statements to the feds. They didn't give statements because the situation they were in. So we got that to go on, but all they can do is say, well, yeah, he was a person, but that person, Brian Ellenworth, already admitted to it, and by state standards, he can't be touched because the statute of limitations. But under the federal ruling, if we could obtain more information to convict this man, or I should say, if the feds can obtain a little bit more information, they told me what they needed. I don't know how they're going to get it. I can't explain what it is, and then they can go after Illingworth. I know he's 1 foot in the grave, but it is what it is. But this is how I'm able to find out more information on closed and cold cases than most people who lived through the time and tragedy of the cases. Because I study them and I work on them. I don't just talk smack. I do have proof of everything I say. It's just some of it I can't produce right now because it's part of an investigation that the feds are conducting. We do know, like in the one case with John Sarver, we do know that they did not use the actual murder weapon in the trial. And so, but the feds now have the real murder weapon. It does have Eleanor Roberts' DNA on it, But it don't have John Sever's fingerprints on it. They pulled 3 sets of fingerprints off that thing, off that weapon. None of them belong to John Sever. Yeah. However, I can't say who it is. I can't really go into detail about it. Can John Sever get that for a retrial? You bet he can, but the problem is now the feds are opening their case also on that situation. So there's a lot of, and I'm going to be, hopefully, like I said, in the next month or so, if I can arrange it, I'll be talking to an inmate in the Wisconsin Correctional System who was convicted in Wood County of a homicide that he had nothing to do with. Even when I read the police report on this, it was, this guy should have never been convicted. So, but I'm not going to say his name right now because I'm not sure whether it's going to actually happen or not. So, oh well. I just figured I'd do a little explaining myself because some people didn't understand how I know certain details and why I can't give out certain information at the moment. Trust me, I wish I can tell you everything I know about these cases that are being reinvestigated by the feds. The fact that a police officer was involved in a Deidra Week accident, if that's what you want to call it, is the reason the feds stepped in, and the reason that there's some legal people involved in the homicide of Eleanor Roberts. That's why the Fed stepped in on that one. I can't really go into detail on that, but I wish I could. I wish I could give you, really do wish I could give you everything I know, but I can't at the moment. Not legally, so, oh well. I'm Jim, with Life's Adventures, keeping it real. Y'all stay safe and stay out of Wood County. I'm out.